Streets of Rage 4 is the long-awaited sequel to Streets of Rage 3, and is the first title in the series since 1994. It was released on April 30th, 2020, on the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, and on the PC. So there are a lot of expectations behind this game because of the long wait and the legendary status of the series as a whole. So was the new title worth the wait? Is it any good? Well, let's find out. Streets of Rage 4 takes place 10 years after the events of Streets of Rage 3, where Mr. X and his group called the Syndicate had finally been taken down by the ex-detective Alex Stone and his allies Blaze, Eddie Skate Hunter, and Dr. Zan. Things have gone back to shit after a long stretch of peace, and it would appear that Mr. X's twin children are behind a new group trying to bring back their father's business by creating a new crime organization called the Y Syndicate. So it's up to Axel and Blaze, along with newcomers to the series Cherry and Floyd, to take them down. Cherry is the daughter of Adam, who's an old Streets of Rage character, and Floyd is an apprentice of Dr. Zan. Adam even gets to join the group to help after a few stages, and is by far my favorite character to play with in the game. The gameplay is very much in line with how the old Streets of Rage games played, but much more in line with the second game in the series than the third. Some abilities like being able to roll and run have been taken out, which honestly seems a bit odd, but things like defensive and offensive special attacks are back, and now there are star power-ups that can be collected to unleash a powerful star attack. Something new that was added was the ability to punch or kick behind you, and this helps with crowd control a lot. Another thing that was added is that you can tech throws or knockdowns so you can recover quickly. This is very useful. There are also still the old trusty grapple options with being able to throw people either in front or behind you. Weapons can be picked up off the ground, and there's quite the assortment in this game. Knives, swords, broken bottles, vials of toxic goo, spears, pipes, and even grenades are all over the place in most battles. I probably didn't use weapons as much as I should have, but most of the time picking them up just got me hurt. Health items and money are also hidden away inside of background objects that can be broken. Money gives points that goes towards the player's overall score, as well as earning extra lives. Health items come in two flavors of small and large, and they can even be customized in the main menu. So if a player doesn't want to eat a giant turkey, they can just choose a salad instead. One great thing that this game does is it puts the pick up items button as a different button than attacking. This makes fights so much less of a headache because you aren't accidentally picking up a weapon or a health item when you mean to be denting someone's face with your fists. There's a combo system that's been implemented as well that can help the player rack up a ton more points. The longer the streak of hits goes, the more points are received. If the player takes damage or waits too long before hitting the next person, the combo ends. I often forgot this was even a thing, but it was a great way to get points for unlocking new stuff. One thing that helps keep a combo going though is the ability to now knock enemies against walls so they can bounce back towards you and they can be juggled. This not only helps with combos but also inflicting much more damage quickly. Enemies will now flash white when they're about to do a move that gives them the ability to ignore being hit stunned, and some will flash red when they're going to unleash a damaging attack or grab. This new addition can add some frustration when going up against large groups of enemies who just spam white flashes over and over, but there are ways to deal with every enemy type and every boss, even though some of the enemies can grate on the nerves pretty hard at times. Axel and Blaze play kinda how they did in Streets of Rage 2, and I have to say I like playing as Blaze a bit more in this one actually. Cherry is a lot of fun to play with because she wields a guitar and uses it to beat the piss out of anybody in her way. Floyd is a heavy character and plays more akin to someone like Max from Streets of Rage 2, but sadly doesn't have a lot of different grab moves that he can do. I would say he feels kind of like if Max and Dr. Zan were meshed into one character. One gripe I definitely have is the inability to be able to run. Some of the character stat sheets seem incorrect, with Axel having a 3-star speed but not being able to dash, while Adam has a 2-star speed and can do a dash. I found Axel to sometimes be frustrating to play with because not being able to get around the screen quickly just had me chasing bosses around while they just evaded my punches and unleashed tons of attacks. Newcomer Cherry is a blast to play with, but she does very little damage, so the final stage in particular can be really rough with her. So finding the best way to play each character can take some practice. At the beginning of each of the 12 stages, the player starts with 3 lives, and once those run out, they're given an option of either continuing from the beginning of the current stage again, or taking an assist boost at the cost of score points. The assists consist of things like starting the stage with more lives and more star items. Based on the player's score at the end of the stage, the player will receive a letter grade ranking from D to S, with S being the highest rank. They will also receive points that go towards unlocking new characters. All of the versions of the characters from the previous 3 games can be unlocked as playable characters. Shiva can also be unlocked, but oddly enough Rue and Ash can't be. The old versions of the characters are shown off in all their pixelated glory, and this honestly kinda looks funny within the world of Streets of Rage 4 because the art styles are completely different. I also got a feeling of deja vu with a few of the stages, like the prison and train sections. They felt very much like another beat 'em up that I reviewed, Mother Russia Bleeds. Enemies in the game are a good mixture of old faces along with several new ones. The new ones seem to fit right in with having their own quirks and tactics that make them bastards to deal with at times, just like the old enemies. There is a good balance with this, and there are some neat encounters that really challenge the player to pick which group should be taken out first while trying to avoid the other ones. The bosses in the game are usually quite fun to fight and are not too difficult or unfair. I actually enjoyed some of the fights where 2 bosses were thrown in at the same time. I thought this was going to be hell, but it actually turned out to be a lot of fun. Overall, I found the enemies and bosses in this game to be a lot more fair than in the older games. Even though I'm sure on the highest difficulties, they're probably nothing to be taken lightly. The graphics in Streets of Rage 4 are quite nice. I didn't think I would like them because the quick snippets I had seen previously of the game made them seem cheap looking and not really all that pleasing to the eye. However, I feel that the game looks clean, and everything from the character sprites to the backgrounds and lighting effects looks nice and polished. The hand-drawn cutscenes in between each stage are a nice touch too, and overall I like the look of the game a lot. There are a few graphical options in the menu that can be changed, like adding a bloom filter or pixel filter, but the pixel filter honestly looked awful in my opinion. There are quite a few other graphical options there, and the only one I decided to really mess with was the screen shake. I just went ahead and turned that off because I haven't really been a fan of that in recent 2D games. Overall, I really like the graphics in this game, and I know not everyone will like this new look, but to me I really enjoyed getting to see a lot of the old enemies brought back in this new art style. The sounds and music in this game were wonderful. The punches and kicks have a satisfying thud to them, and it never got on my nerves hearing enemies get the shit knocked out of them. The music is fantastic, and even has an option for listening to the old style tracks from the originals or the new versions made by some of the best Japanese composers in the business, including Yuzo Koshiro, who did the soundtracks for the first 3 games. Overall, I found the sound and music to be very well done. So, would I recommend Streets of Rage 4? Hell yes, I would. This is a very fun beat 'em up with lots of unlockable characters and a co-op mode where people can play with up to 3 other players either online or offline, so there's plenty of fun to be had with this title. I think the new additions that were made to the gameplay feel good and they fit in with the series' style. I just wish that with the new version of Axel, he was at least given a dash to make him a bit more fun to play with. Thankfully Adam is a badass, and all the old versions of Axel are still available. While the game doesn't break any new ground with the genre, it takes what had already been established with it, and takes the player on a fun ride that in my opinion is well worth taking.